All right, so it's time to get started and let's start filling out your extracurricular activities. This is so important, as I mentioned before, that you show receipts that you are the real deal. So, yes, schools know a lot about you academically. They have your test scores, they know your GPA, they know what your major is going to be, but who are you outside of the classroom? That's the question we're going to focus on answering today. So, why is this super important? It's really important because if you think about it, lots of students are going to match your particular profile, right? They want to go to a school in this particular area, in this state, with this population. They probably have a similar test score as you, similar GPA. So, when I talk about profile, all of those things are going to be so similar, right? Because when you're thinking about building your list is about a lot of balance. And that balance is going to come with other students who fall within those similar criterias in terms of what they like, what they don't like. And so you're kind of measured up and kind of similar to everyone else at this particular point. So university admissions counselors are going to look at what makes you stand out. And the best way to show them is that while they look at you holistically, is to provide them with who you are outside of the classroom. So I know it mentions here outside of the school, but I want you to just let's focus on even outside of the classroom, right? So outside of the time that you have to spend in this particular course, taking this class, whether it's gym or whether it's chemistry, outside of that, who are you? Are you the student who stays after school? Do you meet with other students to help tutor them? Do you volunteer? Are you helping out at home? All of those things allow you to look like a well rounded student. So let's start with the first point. Who are you outside of school? What are your interests? Right? If someone were to describe you and say that you can talk about something for hours and hours and hours, what would they say that is? But how do they know it? Not that you just have conversations, right? You probably are involved in things that showcase that particular passion or that interest. So if you love sports, maybe you're on a team, or maybe you manage a team, or maybe you do things outside of school with different teams and organizations, right? So it doesn't have to just be within your school, right? It can be in your community. If you play AAU sports or if you play for the local Boys and Girls Club, all of those things count. They want to know how you spend your 7 days during the week throughout the year. Right. So these things don't necessarily have to be something that you do all year long. Maybe it lasts for a season. Maybe it was just a weekend, right? Maybe you got invited to this really awesome organization. I remember when I was in high school, I got invited to something called the Washington Center. It was for students who were interested in politics because remember at this time, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I went to this program in DC. It was just about maybe 6 or 7 days. And during that time, I was with other students from across the country and I got to take classes at Georgetown. It was a really awesome, transformative experience. It was only 6 or 7 days throughout my high school career. But you know what? It was important to show them who I was. I was a student who took advantage of opportunities that came my way. I fundraised for this opportunity. So I showcased that I was driven. I learned at this particular place and I put myself in a risky situation to be measured up against other students across the globe, but it didn't stop me. I still went. So, how can you show receipts of what your interests and your passions are? Maybe you mentioned it in the essay and they want to say, but how do you concrete that? If you're passionate about something, if you're interested in something, what do you do to go after it? Right? That's what they want to know about you. And sometimes it doesn't always mean that you're the leader. Some people think, like, oh, I was never the captain or the president, I was just a member. You're showing consistency. Everybody can't be a leader all the time, right? You need people to follow you if you're going to be a leader. And sometimes you're on the following side and sometimes you're on the leading side. Then I want you to think about what other character traits do you want to portray? What is it about you? Are you detailed? Are you responsible? Are you trustworthy? Maybe those things aren't necessarily showcased in your transcript or in your essay, or maybe your letter recommendation writers aren't going to be able to mention that. But this is the time that you can. You can curate this list so that way they can develop a list of character traits about you once they're done reading it. And I want you to know that some of you might have a whole bunch of things on your list, and some of you might not have any at all. Maybe you have one or two things. But I'm hoping that this session will help you to think beyond what you think might be good enough, so that way you can actually highlight everything that you've done. even if it means you went to church every single week, or you took care of your younger sibling because your mom had to work, or she just asked you to, or maybe you're responsible for doing the dishes every single day for the last eons of years of your life. That's responsibility. That's something that we can curate to put on this list.